Intelligence agencies have infiltrated and created some satanic groups, with the resurgence of these groups beginning in 1966, particularly with the birth of the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey. LaVey studied criminology in San Francisco and worked in the San Francisco Police Department Crime Lab. He also worked as an informant for Interpol. Prior to the Church of Satan, LaVey ran a group called the Magic Circle. LaVey's most famous associate is the National Security Agency General Michael Aquino. At the time of his membership in LaVey's group, Aquino was an Army specialist in intelligence and psychological warfare. In 1973, he became the executive officer of the 306th Psychological Operations Battalion, contemporary with his founding of the Church of Set. During the 1960s, he was prominent in the Church of Satan and a close friend of Anton LaVey, until he started his own Church of Set. A police intelligence report dated July 1, 1981, reads, quote, "The Church of Set is a group of hundreds of members that operates on a national level. Michael Aquino is the official head and rules through a council of 9, who are in fact his lieutenants," unquote. At least 2 members of the Council of 9 at that time were members of Army intelligence. In the late 1980s, Aquino was accused by the San Francisco Police Department of being involved in a satanic child molestation ring centered on the daycare at the Presidio military base where Aquino was stationed at the time. Probable victims numbered at 68, many of whom had contracted venereal disease. 22 families filed $66 million in claims against the Army, claiming that criminal charges against Michael Aquino were dropped due to pressure from the Army. It is important to remember that General Aquino is first and foremost a military intelligence officer with over 40 years' experience in counterinsurgency operations and an expert in psychological warfare. General Aquino's psychological warfare campaign has started or infiltrated cults and other closed systems as part of a concerted effort to control large numbers of people and to destabilize the centers of constitutional and legal authority, both here in the United States and in other nations.
Well, again, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Michael Aquino. I am a retired colonel in the Psychological Operations Branch of the United States Army, and hold the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Political Science from the University of California. And I also have had considerable experience in the realms of initiatory occultism, you might say, and religion and metaphysics. As one of the highest members of the original Church of Satan and later on the founding high priest of the International Temple of Set. So those are sort of the big benchmarks. But what I can be most useful, I think, to your audience and to you is to try and get beyond all these labels and simply get to the root of the issue that confronts all of us. We live in a very confusing world, obviously, and it gets more confusing every day. And of course, the big question is, where do we go for the truth of all of this, and what can we make of ourselves? How are we supposed to grapple with this? How are we supposed to behave intelligently so that we aren't just simply running in circles like ants in an anthill that's just been kicked, that people are sort of kicked around by television and newscasters and told, well, you believe this or believe that. There are any number of illustrations. Take something like 9/11. Take something like the moon landing. When we look at these big super propaganda events like the moon landings or 9/11, things like that, this is all nonsense. It's all consumer-driven nonsense for one or another public relations thing. I mean, the notion that it was an Arab attack is completely ludicrous. It was a CIA and Mossad operation with some participation in it also by MI6. It had one purpose and one purpose only, which was to make American citizenry angry enough so that the United States would go and spill its blood on behalf of Israel to balkanize as many of the Arab countries surrounding Israel as possible. And that was the whole point of it. In this case, the 4 planes were simply taken over. And to make a long story short, they were all flown to a almost completely disused air base in Massachusetts called Westover Air Base, where they were landed. The base had been cleared of all its residual personnel the day before. The base has large, oversized hangars, big enough to put 757s in, because the base was originally constructed for the C-5A Galaxy, the hugest military transports around. So the 4 planes were flown there. Selected members of the crews from them and selected passengers were then offloaded from the planes and used to make the quote-unquote cell phone calls. Then the calls themselves were all within a few moments of each other, which was possible when you brought all the 4 planes down there together. After which, not to put too gentle a point on it, the passengers of those planes, including the ones who made the phone calls, were murdered. And so much for that. The planes themselves were then flown later on down to Florida, where there is a place, a company that converts commercial 757s to commercial industrial versions to haul stuff around, and that was their disposition, basically being cleaned out and reused that way. As far as what hit the towers and what hit the Pentagon and what hit the field in Pennsylvania, the answer is nothing, and that's why there's no plane wreckage anywhere. You don't find any pieces of tails or engines or any of that at any of those locations, which you normally would. If a 757 hits something, pieces fly all over the place. There are seats, there are pieces of human beings, there are a lot of very strong structures besides just the aluminum body of the plane, the engines, and plastic nose.
The turbines.
The engines, yes. Yeah. So there'd be a big mess, and there was no mess anywhere. There's a blank field in Pennsylvania. Nothing hit the Pentagon at all, and nothing actually hit either one of the Twin Towers in New York City. A piece of film later surfaced. The piece of film has been analyzed, showing a plane moving towards one of the towers. If there's a very detailed analysis of it that's been done, which people can find on YouTube, which shows that it's computer-generated graphics, even to the point where it actually shows the nose of the stupid plane emerging from the other side.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Which is a little ridiculous. You saw on television what you were told to see and what you were shown to see. Here is a photograph, here is a piece of footage, film footage, showing this plane hitting this building. And it was the same piece of footage, and it was shown over and over again. And it was pre-created before 9/11 to be shown to you. And I believe that the BBC, actually, somewhat amusingly, showed a clip of it before one of the towers was actually hit. And then that was hurriedly pulled.
Yeah, the BBC, I think, got their script wrong. And they also announced the third building collapse before it happened as well.
Building 7, sure. Building 7 went down too. And this is all, they found tons and tons and tons of later on, of nanothermite. Nanothermite all over that part of Manhattan, which is a super hot explosive which can absolutely liquefy reinforced steel, and it can bring those things down in an instant because of that.
Are you the Judy Wood particle, the energy weapon scenario? What do you feel about that?
You don't need an energy weapon for this. This is all pre-planted explosives, which is the same thing that happened in the Pentagon. And of course, nothing happened in Pennsylvania at all. I mean, all those original planes were flown to Westover Base, and that's all there was to it. You didn't even need to substitute any other planes for them, for the simple reason is that no plane hit the Pentagon. No plane actually hit the Twin Towers. If you want to chase it down and look at it, you'll find that there is not a piece of of original film showing that, except for that one computer-generated piece.
Yeah, the French TV crew that just happened to be there.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole point of this exercise, as I said, there weren't any Arabs involved. Osama bin Laden wasn't involved. He was an old, almost dead person who survived another 6 months or so because of his failing kidneys. He had nothing to do with anything. This was a Mossad operation, CIA operation, and MI6 operation designed to, as a false flag, to start up the wars in the Mideast on behalf of Israel. And it worked. And that's the important thing. Here we are in 2019, and we can examine all this because all this stuff has come out. And the more you look at it, like the moon landings, the more stuff falls apart until you find this out.
Satan is real, working in spirit. You can see him and hear him in this world every day. Satan is real, working with power. He can tempt you and lead you astray.
'Cause I'm fighting all the way. I'm energized. I'm awake. I'm not dead. People ask me how the hell I could have so much energy when I come in here, and I'm not like this in person. They're creating a world government mark of the beast. 2.2 billion people just got told they can't use certain words. They're announcing giant cult-like brainwashing.
Preacher, tell them that Satan is real too. You can hear him in songs that give praise to idols and sinful things of this world. You can see him in the destruction of homes torn apart. I know that Satan is real, for once I had a happy home. I was loved and respected by my family. I was looked upon as a leader in my community. And then Satan came into my life. I grew selfish and unneighborly. My friends turned against me. And finally, my home was broken apart.
They're teaching 5-year-olds how to suck cock.